The day drags on, turning into evening, and there's no break in the weather. Hamish is our only hope, but nothing is forthcoming, either from lack of money, everything will cost an exorbitant amount, or because he's dissatisfied with our performance. Probably the latter. I'd be the first to admit we're not exactly riveting today. Starving, weak from injuries, trying not to reopen wounds. We're sitting huddled together, wrapped in the sleeping bag. Yes, but mostly to keep warm. The most exciting thing either of us does is nap. I'm not really sure how to ramp up the romance. The kiss last night was nice, but working up to another will take some forethought. There are girls in the scene, some of the merchant girls, too, who navigate these waters so easily. But I've never had much time or use for it. Anyway, just a kiss isn't enough anymore, clearly, because if it was, we'd have gotten food last night. My instincts tell me Hamish isn't just looking for physical affection. He wants something more personal. The sort of stuff he was trying to get me to tell about myself when we were practicing for the interview. I'm rotten at it, but Pete is not. Maybe the best approach is to get him talking. Peta, I say lightly, you said at the interview you'd had a crush on me forever. When did forever start? Well, let's see, I guess. The first day of school. We were 5. You had on a red plaid dress, and your hair, it was in 2 braids instead of 1. My father pointed you out when we were waiting to line up, Peta said. Your father? Why? I asked. He said, see that little girl? I wanted to marry her mother, but she ran off with a coal miner, Peta says. What? You're making that up, I exclaim. No, true story, Peta says. And I said, a coal miner? Why did she want a coal miner if she could have had you? And he said, because when he sings, even the birds stop to listen. That's true. They do. I mean, they did, I say, and I'm stunned and surprisingly moved, thinking of the baker telling this to Peta. It strikes me that my own reluctance to sing, my own dismissal of music, might not really be that I think it's a waste of time. It might be because it reminds me too much of my father. So that day, in music assembly, the teacher asked who knew the Valley Song, and your hand shot right up in the air. She stood you up on a stool and had you sing it for us. And I swear every bird outside the windows fell silent, Peta says. Oh, please, I say, laughing. No, it happened. And right when your song ended, I knew, just like your mother. I was a goner, Peta says. Then for the next 11 years, I tried to work up the nerve to talk to you. Without success, I add. Without success. So in a way, my name being drawn in the reaping was a real piece of luck, says Peta. And for a moment, I'm almost foolishly happy, and then confusion sweeps over me. Because we're supposed to be making up this stuff, not playing at being in love, not actually being in love. But Peta's story has a ring of truth to it. That part about my father and the birds, and I did sing the first day of school, although I don't remember the song. And that red plaid dress, there was one, a hand-me-down to Prim that got washed to rags after my father's death. It would explain another thing, too. Why Peta took a beating to give me the bread on that awful hollow day. So if those details are true, could it all be true? You have a remarkable memory, I say haltingly. I remember everything about you, says Peta, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. You're the one who wasn't paying attention. I am now, I say. Well, I don't have much competition here, he says. I want to draw away, to close the shutters again, but I know I can't. It's as if I can hear Hamish whispering in my ear. Say it! Say it! I swallow hard and get the words out. You don't have much competition anywhere. And this time, it's me who leans in. Our lips have just barely touched when the clunk outside makes us jump. My bow comes up, the arrow ready to fly, but there's no other sound. Peta peers through the rocks and then gives a whoop. Before I can stop him, lies out in the rain, then handing something into me. A silver parachute attached to a basket. I rip it open at once, and inside there's a feast. Fresh rolls, goat cheese, apples, and best of all, a tureen of that incredible lamb stew on wild rice. The very dish I told Caesar Flickerman was the most impressive thing that the capital had to offer. Peter wriggles back inside, his face lit up like the sun. I guess Hamish finally got tired of watching us starve. I guess so, I answer. But in my head I can hear Hamish's smug, if slightly exasperated words. Yes, that's what I'm looking like, sweetheart.